Hello, welcome back to Web and X Files. My name is Keith, and today I'm going to continue my talk on all things from outer space. And this story takes us over one of Liverpool's largest parks. This was reported in Sefton Park, and it goes back to the early 2000s. Now, we can't say whether this was a UFO, but it was something that was not something we would recognize on a daily basis. It's something that was a little more sinister. There was a human who was seen floating in the skies over Sefton Park. Now, there was a witness who was an elderly woman who actually seen what she thought was a floating angel fly across the sky one evening in Sefton Park. She walked her dogs as she does every night, and it was only when the dogs started barking up at this object that she noticed this strange, unidentified flying object. Is that what a UFO is? But it clearly was no spaceship. This was the figure of a woman. She said that it came from the direction of Egbert, and it moved along right up until Sefton Park. And she said that it seemed to hover over Sefton Farmhouse. And the elderly lady had been interviewed by various people, and she said that she called up one of her family members and asked him to meet her at Sefton Park, as she did not want to move from this spot in case this object either followed her or disappeared. So she called him, this family member, and he came running along thinking it was some sort of joke. He met his family member and she just pointed up to the sky. He said that it looked like somebody was flying a kite in the shape of a human. But what type of person would fly a kite late in the evening? Not many people. And he could say that the shape and silhouette of this kite was in fact the shape of a female floating in the sky. Now, it couldn't be a kite for the way it moved up, down, round, in a way where kites would not normally be able to do so. And back then, there were not drones like we have these days, when I often take my drone out to film things, take pictures, and do various acrobat stunts and whatnot. So this was definitely not a drone or anything similar. And then he said that she drifted off further down the road and into the night. Now, this was not the only report of this flying nun, as this was what I would call her, the flying nun. And it was only a few months later that there was another sighting, this time from a driver that we'll call Jack. Jack had reported that he had some passengers in his car, and he was driving along the road, and he said this was in the early months of the year, in the early 2000s, and it was early evening, and he just happened to take a look up into the night sky when he had to stop what he was doing, and his jaw hit the floor. It didn't really, it just like dropped. It didn't really hit the floor. And then he said to his passengers, "Oh my God, what is that?" Because he couldn't believe his eyes. His eyes were seeing this thing in the sky, yet it wasn't supposed to be there. And he said that it was white and had a black cloak of some sort on. He said it reminded him of a nun. as the Flying Nun. And he said that it took over the rooftops and glided along the night sky as if there was nothing amiss, and that floating in the sky was something normal people would do. So he said the people in the back of his car seemed to be freaked out at it, and they asked the driver to quickly get away. They were very superstitious and didn't like anything out of the ordinary, and off the driver went. So he said that he dropped off these people in the back of his car, and he went back out looking for this Flying Nun. Nothing. And then a few more months passed by when there was another witness who chose to remain anonymous because he was fearful of being persecuted and laughed at, and he had a responsible job, in a job where his word was very important. So you can guess what type of person he was. He said that he was gazing out one night, looking over the beautiful skyline of Liverpool, and it was a full moon and the stars were out, so it lit up the night sky very beautifully. And then you have, of course, light pollution from being around the city, so it did make things a lot brighter and able to see things a little more clearer given that it was nighttime. He said as he was gazing up, he noticed something that flitted past the moon. So he took out his phone and called his friend and told his colleague to come over instantly. So his friend come over, and they both stared out up into the night sky at this thing. So he asked his colleague, "What on earth do you think it is?" His colleague said, "I'm a rational man and I don't believe in ghosts and aliens and all stupid things like that, but that to me looks like a person that is flying in the night sky. So it's not just my eyes playing tricks on me then." "No, Fred, it clearly isn't." So he asked his friend to confirm what he's seen. He said when he looked up at the sky, he could see the outline of a female figure that was wearing some black overall with white on the inside. He said, "It reminds me of one of the sisters from the church. A nun." Yes, that's the word. A nun. He watched the nun glide right across the full moon and along the Liverpool docks. He said that he wondered if it was some sort of ghost of a person who just passed away or been buried, because it looked like shrouds of some sort, or a long nightie, and he was trying to think of everything but a nun, because he couldn't understand why a nun would be seen flying in the sky. So he got a closer look when he pulled out one of his binoculars. Now, normally people don't carry around binoculars, but due to their job, they had things they might need to see things at a distance. So he put his binoculars to his eyes, and his jaw hit the floor. Not literally, just out of shock. He said it was a woman who had a very pale face, who had a black overcoat from head to toe, but on the insides it was white, just like a nun. So he tried to keep a steady watch on this floating woman, and he said that he traced her for about 60 seconds, and then it drifted off into the night sky and then out of sight. He said that she didn't move independently like you and I would. Although she was floating in the sky, she remained still, like she was a statue or something frozen. And there were no words that he could say to describe it. And then after a few minutes of it passing into the night sky, there was a helicopter that flew past, which looked like it was giving chase to something. Now, was this helicopter chasing something on the ground, or was it chasing something in the sky? As you can imagine, this wasn't reported in the papers as a regular news, although it was mentioned in small columns, as these things are often. When you scour the newspapers looking for cool stories to give you guys, these are the type of things that you find. Little tiny articles that are mentioned in local newspapers from cities right across the world. And then the helicopter had its searchlight scanning around the sky. So it wasn't looking for something on the floor. It was searching for something in the sky. But I am quite confident in saying that I am very sure that the helicopter, although searching for this object, they were quite glad that they didn't find her. How would you explain to your superiors that you took off in the police helicopter and went searching for the flying nun in the night sky? I cannot think they would be too pleased. So, what do you make of the flying nun? Is she some sort of omen for when death has happened? Like the Banshee. The Banshee is an Irish urban legend who is said to scream this awful high-pitched scream to warn family members of a passing in their family. So who knows? So tell me, have you ever seen anything strange in the sky, like a flying nun? If so, do let me know in the comments, but I can't imagine too many of you will have. For now, I would like to say thank you for watching. If you made it through to the very end of this video, you know what to do. You smash the like, subscribe if you want to. Lots more stories coming and other investigations. For now, take care and see you all in the next video. Peace.